India undoubtedly has the bravest of brave soldiers, sailors and air warriors. India is moving fast on modernization and defense through the Atmanirbhar Bharat route. Take, for example, Navy. 33 ships and 7 submarines commissioned in the past 10 years. 39 of those 40 were made in India. The drones, the robotic mules, they're all force multipliers. But the big question we're asking here on India today, are we keeping pace, let alone be a step ahead of our adversaries, not just to the north, but also the west? Joining me on this India First special, 3 experts, domain experts who've commanded men on ground at the senior most levels. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief, Western Naval Command and former Chief of the Integrated Defence Staff. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma, former Ladakh Corps Commander, former Adjutant General of the Indian Army. Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Vice Chief of Air Staff and former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Eastern Air Command. Gentlemen, a very happy Army Day to all of you and a very happy commissioning of these frontline warships. Admiral Sinha, what does the commissioning of a guided missile destroyer, a stealth frigate and a hunter-killer submarine on the same day mean for the Navy and the nation?
Well, thank you, Gaurav, for getting me on your program. And I also want to wish Happy Army Day, particularly to my co-panelist, General Rakesh Sharma. Gaurav, these 3 platforms getting commissioned on one day, it's a very big day. It has not happened before ever. And I think this is the first time that has happened. Now you're saying that what does it mean? I would say broadly, it means that our defense production, particularly in the maritime field, has picked up pace. It is producing ships and submarine quicker than what it was few years ago. And I think I must say that the present government led by Prime Minister Modi has really put adrenaline in everybody's veins. And therefore, you will find it's not only the Nilgiri class 4 ships are being built here, 4 ships are also being built in GRSC in Calcutta. So you will find parallelly the ships coming out from both the yards. It is going to meet hopefully all requirements. Now you mentioned about, are we keeping pace with China? Well, I have a little different view than what normally, people believe. I think, matching ship to ship, aircraft to aircraft, submarine to submarine, particularly in the maritime domain, is not really the way you look at, how are you ready to tackle the adversary.
Okay.
Now, particularly, Gaurav, for India, we are blessed with a very good geography. Anyone who has to enter the Indian Ocean, they have to come through from the east. There are 3 entry points, as you know, choke points. On your program only
Yes.
I have you got Malacca Strait, you got Lombok, you got Sunda, you got one more further down. And on the west, we have got the Gulf of Aden for getting out or getting in. Now, we have got a very strong maritime domain awareness network.
Okay.
Which track of everything, and these platforms which are supporting it, satellites, human intelligence, ship intelligence, submarine intelligence, and PATI intelligence, which is hell of a lot. And the Indian ships, aircraft, and submarines, Gaurav, they are deployed on a mission-based deployment in 7 areas of the Indian Ocean.
So let's take this step by step. Let's take this step by step. You're making a very important point, and those who say we have reason to be concerned, it's a significant message that goes out from you, sir. I also want to bring in General Sharma. Sir, on Army Day, you saw that impressive parade in Pune. What do you make of the robotic mules, the drone jammer systems, vis-a-vis the threat that we face on our northern and our western borders? Are we keeping pace? Are we a step ahead in your appreciation? You commanded the Ladakh Corps, sir.
Thank you, Gaurav, for inviting me, and hello to my co-panelists, and happy Army Day to everybody who's listening. Now, thank you. It's a very important question. Are we keeping pace? And I agree with what Admiral Sinha was saying, that do we need to keep pace? You see, there are 2 parts of the story. One part of the story is hardware, which is the platforms that we talk about. We are working towards platforms, and platforms matter a lot, and all kinds of platforms matter a lot. There is also software, which is the doctrines, the strategy, the connectivity, the seamless connectivity, the communication systems which are satellite-based, which are secure and available around. So, there are many facets of warfare which go beyond just platforms. So what I'll say is that we are working ahead. We need to strategize now to, even if the adversaries has got a decade or 2 decades ahead of us in many fields, like for example the ship production or the tanks and whatnot. But we need to fight it out. Asymmetrical large enemies have lost out,
Yes.
even they are more potent. So we need to plan accordingly, and I think we moved at the right step. We have got in course of last 5 6 years the private industry which has taken on. There are 16 odd medium and small scale enterprises now producing whole lot of wide variety of drones. So if you say the Chinese have ordered in by 2026 1 million kamikaze drones, we have the capacity to scale up, and we need
Okay.
to scale up in a manner, and we don't have to scale up in everything. We just have to
Yes.
decide which is the issue. This is important to us. We have the potency and we can push forward. So
Fair
maybe
enough.
drones, maybe electronic warfare systems, and many other things which we can, and missiles. We've done so excellent work in missiles. So we scale up, ratchet up a production of missiles and make a game changer issues. So, we have to plan how we want to strategize and create
So you're saying we
doctrines
are
to
not playing
combat
the
it.
enemy's game. We are doing very well. Though there has been a decade or maybe a decade or two that was lost. Air Marshal Khosla, China's already unveiled a 6th-generation fighter jet, both in numbers and in technology. Is China growing at a very rapid pace? And when it comes to air power, where do we stand, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. First of all, congratulations to the Indian Navy for adding so much of muscle in one day, and my compliments to all the Army officers and Army personnel for the Army Day. Very valid question, Gaurav. We have been asking, are we racing with China? Is the China racing ahead? China is racing with the USA, and obviously it is racing ahead at a very, very rapid pace. Its defense production ecosystem is well established. It is producing aircraft platforms and at a very, very rapid rate. It's already flying 5th-generation aircraft. It has inducted and operationalized them. 6th-generation aircraft, they've flown. The media leaks which took place about 2 weeks back have shown that 2 types of 6th-generation aircraft are already flying. So even USA is taking cognizance of these developments. As far as we are concerned, Indian Air Force capability-wise, it has moved way ahead in the past few decades in terms of all types of capabilities, in terms of precision, standoff, range, endurance, in terms of strategic lift. You name it, we have gained that proficiency. It is the capacity to fight which we are lacking, mainly which I refer to, which everyone knows, that number of fighter aircraft, number of support aircraft. So that is where we are lacking, the capacity-wise. What are the reasons? We'll not go into that detail. However, now, what is the way ahead? I mean, Atmanirbharta, self-reliance is a definite requirement. While supporting, we need to maintain that minimum deterrence level. We need not compete with China as far as numbers are concerned, but so long as we maintain that minimum deterrence level, it will be good enough. And so in case of requirement, in case we can't meet indigenous requirement, we must procure from outside, keeping the balance between quantity and quality in mind. So that is where...
That's a very pertinent point you make. We shouldn't come down to 30-odd squadrons in case our requirement, if our wish list is 42 squadrons, we want to stay at 37.5 squadrons. We shouldn't come down to alarming levels, because that would be worrisome. And I'll come to you on what needs to be done in just a moment. Admiral Sinha, yes, 39 of 40 ships and submarines commissioned between 2014 and 24 were part of Atmanirbhar Bharat, made in India. But again, I want to come to the bigger picture. Why I say vis-a-vis China is because China is also arming Pakistan. So if you look at the People's Liberation Army Navy or the Chinese Navy, according to some of the reports, they're projected to expand their battle force to about, I think, 395 ships by 2025, which is the end of this year, and 400 plus ships by 2030. But doesn't that alter the balance of power in this region completely?
A very, very good question and pertinent question, Gaurav, as always. You understand these systems quite well. One thing that I wanted to add to what my colleagues have just mentioned, that we have to identify the vulnerability of the adversary. which part of the weapon system or which part of the deployment is vulnerable, and we must create capability to puncture those those vulnerabilities. And therefore, that you will find, for example, General Sharma was saying that yes, they are way ahead, but we have, we can increase the number of, drone shooters, and therefore you may not require so many drones, but you have drone shooters. Similarly, for aircraft, you keep increasing. If you can't make aircraft, you can't buy aircraft quickly. In the meantime, put the SAM systems of the correct caliber in the correct places. I'm just giving you a make do with, but that's not the
Yes.
answer. Air Marshal Khosla is well experienced and very senior officer. So what you mentioned is now that yes,
Very modest, sir. You're a fighter
Pakistan.
pilot yourself, but go on, sir.
Yeah, China, Pakistan being together, it is a matter of concern. It is not that we are not watching, but if you put all the ships, China is not building all this to shoot India down. For him, at the moment, India is, sort of much lower in priority. He basically wants to remove the US from the top end, and that is why all the ships are being added. Why it is giving it to Pakistan? He wants to win a war without fighting, because he knows
Yes.
that Pakistan will certainly fight the Indians. He doesn't want to become the bad boy. And that is
Yes.
exactly what they are doing. That is certainly a matter of concern. And as you know, that today the Chief of Naval Staff said there are some 34 more ships on the line. And
Yes.
so are the supposedly one more aircraft carrier will have some aircraft, whichever aircraft they decide. Then submarines, you know that the AIP fitted submarine is likely to build on the same line where the present Scorpion is rolling out. That is quite way forward. And the nuclear submarines, you are more aware than I am. So I think that as far as the naval power is concerned, Gaurav, we are absolutely on right track. We have a long-term plan, capability
Yes.
building plan. Okay, LTPP is the name.
Yes.
And there are people from all three services and from embassies and from intelligence agencies. They keep evaluating the threat perception. And
So our
what
long-term perspective planning is on an even keel, is what you say. But General Sharma, Indian soldiers, they've proved their mettle in Ladakh, they've proved their mettle in Arunachal Pradesh from Galwan to Yangtze. China has disengaged along the LAC friction points, but does China have a major technological advantage, and can that overcome India's battle-hardened combat troops in future warfare, in future combat? Because clearly the way China is building up along the LAC, the way it's getting its fifth generation aircrafts at Shigatse and at Hotan, clearly China's not doing that just for psychological warfare. What do we need to do to, one, retain the edge, have an edge, two, deter any misadventure?
So thank you, Gaurav. Again, a very potent question. The fact of the matter is that we don't have to match a tank to a tank and a man to a man and a ship to a ship or an aircraft to aircraft. We just have to decide which military capabilities are essential for us to deter the adversary. That's to define deterrence. And if
But on
deterrence
ground, we
fails,
have to hold that place.
so that's holding the place is one part of the story. The LAC is one part of the story. But then the Chinese have the maximum number of missiles and the largest number of drones that they would have in a year or so. So, when you say they are technologically advanced, yes, the ASPI report themselves itself says that they have 57 technologies out of 64, they are the leaders. So, they are the leaders and is no undeniably. But we don't have to match it out. We just have to decide how do we deter him. And deterrence
Okay.
is the name of the game. Now, to deter him, we have the capacities to do many other things. And as rightly pointed out, we have to see what are his weaknesses. We can't fight his strengths. We have to fight his weaknesses. And that's where our strength comes up. So if we decide the weaknesses and decide what deters him, then we move ahead to create those capabilities that will deter him. And I would say that we have the capacities to handle electronic warfare or issues of the of drones or counter drone technologies or missiles, and all these will add up to give him the same kind of deterrence to say that he would have. And Chinese are always averse to attrition. From
Yes.
52 onwards, they have not ever broadcast as to how many casualties they would have. That's the issue of the social contract that the people have with the CCP. So we have to find the shortfalls, and we have to address those shortfalls as a deterrence measure, and we have the capacity to do so.
And, in another show, we'll also talk about the Bhargavastra or the drone killers that we are working on. But Air Marshal Khosla, Pakistan is being modernized by China. Our Tejas Mark 1A is delayed. There's a delay in, the G404 engines. As the FO says, technology delayed is technology denied. So is there no way out of this? And how do you ensure that the Indian Air Force and the Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and all the other partners and players are working at the same pace for the same cause?
Yeah, so Gaurav, you have thrown in quite a few issues in this. One is regarding Pakistan and being armed with China, by China. So Pakistan is totally in control of China, under control of China. It's become a total vassal state. And most of it, armory is now, the platforms as well as weapons have shifted from the Western side to the Chinese side. So he's totally reliant on them. China doesn't give them the latest technology, and he has total control over them. As far as Pakistan's economy is concerned, I don't think they're in a state to fight at the moment. But the major problem is, so Pakistan, to my mind, is an irritant. China is a challenge, and the collusivity between Pakistan and China, and also the irritants which is created all around us, that is a major problem. Second issue you brought out about our indigenous program and not keeping pace, that is history. Now government has initiated a lot of factors which is addressed,
okay,
and the whole ecosystem had started moving. Hopefully it is showing results. The pace of work has increased. The promises are being made, but we'll have to wait and see whether the timelines are met or not. But the major important problem is, it's not 75% indigenous content or 85% indigenous content. It is the critical content of the platform and weapon system which needs to be indigenized. For example,
yes,
you brought out, if you're reliant on others for the engine, that aircraft is no good. So we need to develop, ecosystem and our production capability and our capability to produce system weapons and
absolutely,
which are 100% or at least critical technology is catered for indigenously.
Because after our nuclear tests, we've suffered where the upgrade of our aircraft, the Sea Kings, the Sea Harriers, was adversely impacted. So we have to be Atmanirbhar in critical defense technology. There's so many more questions that I'm seeking answers to, and over the course of next several days and weeks, we will continue this discussion. But gentlemen, as always, many thanks for joining me.